All right, hello everyone. Today is Thursday, December 14th, and this is the Cluster API Provider Azure Office Hours. As a reminder, please add your name to the attendee list if you haven't already, and if you have any discussion topics, you can add them to the agenda. Just a quick reminder that Cluster API Provider Azure is a subproject of SIG Cluster Lifecycle, and therefore we follow the CNCF Code of Conduct. So please be respectful to everyone. And with that, let's get started. Okay, so I don't think there's anyone new here, so I'm going to skip over welcome new attendees unless anyone wants to say something or say hello. All right, cool. So let's just get right into discussion topics. Let's see, John, you want to start with your first item?
Yes. So yeah, like I mentioned before, there is a proposal open to expose the entire AKS API from the AKS resources in CapZ. So any feedback there is very much appreciated. I think we're kind of narrowing it down as to where we think we're going to head. So if you have any feedback, now would be a great time to leave that. We probably won't start lazy consensus until after the holidays, since I think we're kind of getting close to the end of the year where people bail. So no huge rush on that, but the earlier we get feedback, the better. And if anybody has any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer those. Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
Driving this, John. I have done enough touristing of that to observe that of the 4 paths that are enumerated, it seems that we might be converging on path 4, but also that it's not super obvious that that's a great path. It seems like all 4 have their issues. And so would it be worth just to solicit feedback for that particular thing to anticipate any controversy, maybe do some I mean, here would be a great opportunity, but we don't have very many folks from the community right now, but just to like enumerate more in depth what each of those paths would be and the pros and cons and why the 4th path seems to be the one that we're choosing. Because I was only reading it briefly and I wasn't able to prime my brain enough to really develop an opinion, but it just made an impression that like it didn't seem like we had an obvious just path forward to do this because there are downsides to any possible way of doing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can enumerate more in the doc exactly what the pros and cons are. I think I was trying to make the options kind of build on each other so each one wasn't like a full pros and cons list, because I think there would be a ton of overlap between them. But I can add something like that if that would make things more digestible.
Yeah, it just seemed for the historical record right now, it suggests like, it's interesting that they went to that 4th path because there's a lot of comments like this one looks great, and then someone's like, no, this one's not good. This one's not good. This one's great. There isn't an obvious, to me, reading the historical thread of the discussion, an obvious it's not obvious why path 4 is chosen, other than maybe there's more maintainer support behind it, but it wasn't clear like on the merits that was definitely the best. Go ahead, Cecile.
I think, yeah, the decision section was mostly left empty in the first pass of reviews, which was fine because we hadn't made a decision yet. And we still haven't. I think there's still debate between option 4 and option 1. I think that's the second contender that was, or did I miss that? One of the others. But anyways, so I think once we do get closer to a consensus before merging the proposal, we probably want to summarize the decision and why, why that decision was made in the like little recommendation section at the bottom. I don't know that the options right now are missing pros and cons, but it's more like Jack is saying like that when we do make a decision, we want to record why we made that decision. So maybe for now, that's just a tentative PR comment. So
well, yeah, I can make a note to kind of expand on that once we narrow that down a little better. But yeah, I think it might be good to let the discussion play out a little more, just so we know, we have a better idea of what we would put there. But yeah, that is good. I will note to do that. And I do want to thank everybody who has given feedback on the proposal so far, and anybody who has said that they are planning to leave feedback. So that is very much appreciated. Any last questions on the proposal for right now? All right, I will hand it back to Cecile.
Thanks, John. Cool. All right. So next one is Matt with some image building updates.
Pardon me. This probably isn't as much of a discussion topic as it is more of just an announcement, because I assume everybody here would be vaguely interested, and maybe somebody has some ideas. But I went to our pipelines and tried to build Kubernetes 129.0 that came out yesterday. It failed because an associated package no longer exists. We were expecting Kubernetes-CNI RPMs and debs to be available, but we pinned that to a certain version, and the version has changed from 1.2 to 1.3. No big deal. I updated that and it seemed to work, but you can't build older packages. So because the previous versions are not packaged for the newer ones. So it's kind of surprising this is the first time we've run into this, because we've had to bump the Kubernetes CNI package several times throughout history. But up till now, we've always gotten away with just using a single version number. It looks like now that won't work. So TLDR, there's just some work to do in Image Builder to work around this. Maybe the smartest thing to do is to stop pinning the version of that package and just say, now that you've installed Kubernetes, kubelet, that good stuff, just install Kubernetes CNI, whichever version. So anyway, that's the approach I'll probably take. The second problem is, once I hacked up the Kubernetes CNI version and got that working temporarily in the pipeline just to see if that, it produced images, but the images don't seem to come up. The kubelet never appears. We never talk to the API server. So this is all just by way of saying there's some non-trivial amount of work to do before we can publish 129.0 images with Image Builder right now. I don't, and I'm not really sure what kind of priority to put on this. I don't want it to dangle forever, but it doesn't seem like the end of the world either. So anyway, that's my brain dump. Go ahead, Cecile.
Yeah, thank you for the updates, and thanks for doing all that. I think there's an issue in Cluster API for adding support for 129. I'd be curious to see if there's anything that's been identified there as like needing to change for Cluster API to support 129 altogether. Because if that's the case, there might be some stuff that we're kind of blocked from building clusters until that happens. So might be worth checking. I don't have the link on hand, but I can get that after the call.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It may not really be our fault. Well, some things are clearly Image Builder's issue, but maybe once I worked around that, there's something more fundamental. That's a good call.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions or comments about this topic?
So then I guess my plan is to let this sort of dangle for a bit, because I feel like the AAD pod identity deprecation and the SIG publishing things are sort of higher priority. So I'm not planning to jump on this for another week or two, unless someone here thinks that's the wrong thing to do. That's all.
Sounds good. All right. Next topic is a PSA. I guess I'll take that. Thanks whoever added it. So just a quick announcement that the patch releases for 112 and 111, so 112.1, 111.7 have been released yesterday. And I guess an announcement just for like this group or for all CABZ reviewers and maintainers that we now have new automation in place for releasing. And so I tested it out with those two patch releases. And so those changes will allow us hopefully to have anyone now kick off the release process. So that means you don't need to be a maintainer to start a release. Releasing is now done entirely through PRs. So you do need PRs and GitHub Actions. So you do need a maintainer to approve your PR. So maintainers will still be able to gate releases, but you will not need to be a maintainer to do stuff like to generate release notes and kick off the release. So yeah, hopefully that helps make releases a bit more smooth and easier, and you know, we can collaborate with more people on them. Any questions on that? Cool. And also this is the same process that Cappy has been using for several releases already, so it's been proven and tested. Cool. This is the end of the open discussion topics. Anything anyone wants to bring up before we move on to some type of triage? All right. So I think, let's see. Would it be, does anyone have a strong preference for what we should spend, maybe like time box 9:30, maybe spend the next like 13 minutes doing? We could go over, like, who was that, David?
Me, yeah. So I did want to just talk about the auto rest real quick. I did make a comment yesterday. I saw your comment back, Matt, on that. So I just wanted to get a little more of an idea there, since I know I think that's the one piece of code we're still using the Go SDK v1, right? Like that's the only.
Yeah, it's not, properly speaking, it's not part of the Go SDK. So actually I think we're clear now for that. It's a separate but very closely related package that also got deprecated at the same time for kind of the same reasons. But strictly speaking, it's a separate Go package.
Okay, but it's the only, I think it's the only piece of code though that we have in our code base that's technically deprecated and unsupported, right?
I don't know if I go that far. I haven't done the full search, but this is the one, certainly the one we know about.
Okay.
And I did talk with Cecile about this yesterday, which is why I kind of made this comment here about maybe we won't get to it because I took over a task from her that we think is higher priority. But
the pod identity, yeah.
Yeah, which is also deprecated code, but in a harder way because the repo is archived. So there can't be any changes anymore to that code.
Right.
So
yeah, like I was trying to say here, I feel like our uses of the code are pretty confined to tests, and one largely, well, not dead, but not critical code path. So and this code isn't going to change. So I feel like it's relatively low risk to not fix it, but we should still try.
Well, I guess the only thing that concerns me is it's relating to authentication, like identity, and that's the security thing that is not being updated or tested or security patched.
Yeah, well, so we're not really using it for actual auth at this point is, I think, how it's going. We're using that auth environment struct as sort of a collector for environment variables that in the end we're not really using. So I think it's largely dead code, but I could be wrong. Cecile?
I also see you had a comment, Matt, here that says that this PR, which is I believe this one, removes a lot of the code. And so this is the PR from
I
Willie.
kind of thought it would, but it's actually it's not removing that much of it, but the code is closely related. So I think it will be liberating to merge that and then look at this again.
Okay, I think in any case, I think my point is I think we should do this first. Like this one is under review. And so once we merge this, we can maybe reevaluate how much of Go to rest is left. Go ahead, Willie.
Yeah, I saw, Matt, that you left some comments about there's some Go auto rest code in there still. I remember the lines you pointed out, like I did have to add that to make it work, but I will, like, it's been a while since I looked at that. I mean, I updated it yesterday, but not the line you pointed out. So I'm gonna take a look at it again and see if there's any way I can remove mentions of it. But yeah, I remember having to add the AAD pod to scheme as well, but ideally we shouldn't want to do that. So yeah, I'll take a closer look.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine to merge it even with that. I was just wanting to make sure that it was necessary.
But yeah, in general, I think to address your concern, David, we definitely don't want to drop this one. I think it's still on the radar. It's just in terms of like the code that's actually left that is using Go to REST, it's mostly unused code. So we're not prioritizing it above other things like pod identity, which are more important.
Yeah.
But yeah, if someone has bandwidth and wants to take this one over, it's definitely still relevant. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I don't need to continue to own this. Maybe I should unassign myself for right now, since I guess we're saying I'm probably not going to look at this for a couple weeks. And then if someone else wants to jump on it, they can.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do that. With
right.
the proviso that I do, and if no one else picks it up, I will definitely get back to this after those other tasks. Okay.
Does that answer your questions, David?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay.
I'm gonna put another agenda item.
Oh, well, yeah, go for it. You can just say it if you want, since we're talking.
Just it's been a while since we've talked about the preview features. And I just wanted to know if we had any other like rough thoughts on the space. I know we're not starting on that yet, but we've obviously done a lot of digging in the auto feature side of things. And there's a bit of discussion there. Yeah, I wanted to see what folks thought on the call.
Yep. John, go ahead.
Yeah, I did ask AKS this week about how stable can we expect GA features to be if we use a preview API version. And it sounds like the expectation is that if we're only using GA features with a preview API version, then that should behave exactly the same as if you're using a stable API version. So I almost wonder if we can just start using a preview API version in CapZ, and then that would allow users to use preview features if they want. But then if they only use GA stable features, then I think the expectation is at least that those behave the same as they would today. Go ahead, Cecile.
Yeah, that makes me a little like I don't love that idea. Because I think even if they said it should be fine, if it's not written anywhere as a contract, we have no guarantees. And I think it doesn't look great to users if they look at what version of the dependency is being, or which module version is being used, and it says dash preview. Like in terms of optics, even if it's not, you know, actually affecting GA features, I don't know. I think we need to think more about this, but it's not ideal if we do this. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I don't really feel like that's an option. I mean, because we do have users, for instance, who are filing issues such as like, hey, 2 seconds is too low, and they're running a bunch of clusters in production, and if that comes down to a support request, eventually somebody will say, oh my gosh, you're using the preview API. That just we're not gonna support that or whatever, and so we can't have that be a reason potentially why either people don't use it and or if it ever comes down to any kind of issue that gets escalated, that's why people are saying it doesn't work. So yeah, I don't think that's an option really for us. I think we need to have a way for people to do either one. Obviously, there's lots of different ways. I know John has put some thoughts on the issue there, but I'm just curious what other people are thinking as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. Jack, go ahead.
With the introduction of ASO, how horrible would it be to maintain in CapZ 2 separate API wrappers? So we could just maintain an alpha API that delivers the continuing forward progress of a preview AKS API, and then V1 beta 1 pins to the production SDK API.
John.
So I think a lot of that depends on how the current proposal shakes out. because there are some options in the proposal where that allows users to pick whatever AKS API version they want, including preview versions. So that more or less completely decouples the version that users want to use from the version that KEBSI uses internally. But yeah, I think no matter what we pick, there are ways where we can do that in a not super gnarly way to support multiple API versions.
Any other thoughts, comments, questions?
That sounds like
Um,
the sensible path forward if we are going to be expecting places with hundreds of thousands of cores and thousands of clusters to adopt us.
I think it sounds like it might make sense to, even if the proposal doesn't cover this particularly, it might make sense to include something about it in the proposal. Like, let's say, like, you know, making sure that whatever option we pick is not going to be a problem down the line once we do want to implement this specific issue. And it does sound like the outcome of the proposal will influence how we do this. So in terms of timing, we kind of want to do the automation of AKS features first, and then do this preview feature. David?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously I understand the ordering is there. I know like Mike had some comments as well, and just the, you know, the SLA and version compatibilities. So yeah, I mean, do we feel like this would be after like you're over the auto feature add thing, would this be a lot of work? Like, are we talking like months or a month or a couple weeks? Do we have any kind of t-shirt sizing idea of this preview enabling it?
I would say on the order of 2 weeks at most,
Okay.
assuming things go smoothly.
Yeah, I agree with John that for me, the better question to ask is what's the ongoing maintenance cost? Because that's where things get expensive. I think the initial spike isn't that hard.
Yeah, and how much testing are you of preview versus both paths and all these things, right?
Yeah, I think for most of the design work we're doing as part of the proposal for automating features already, and then whatever we choose there is going to just directly influence how we implement this. So there won't be many decisions left made at that point. Hopefully, so should just be. And then for preview features, since it is preview to start with, I think there's less rigor around like stability of the API and testing, etc. So we could implement it as a POC, try it out, see how people like it, and then change it later if needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think also it introduces an interesting element too, right? Of like automating features that are available on the preview API versus ones that are not. So from a code-based perspective, right? What gets lit up, that's kind of a interesting one.
Yeah.
But I guess if you're just plumbing in as one of the options, you're just plumbing in whatever ASO has available, then yeah, I guess that makes it easier.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Was that all for your topics, David? Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so just quickly, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but this is the milestone for 113. We had put a due date of mid-January for this. So it's a month from now, knowing that there's holidays in between. So it's probably more like 2 weeks. So knowing that, just taking a glance at this, is there any issue in here that anyone would like to bring up to discuss, either to raise priority, bring attention to it, or maybe discuss kicking it out of the milestone? John.
Yeah, I think the AKS preview features 126.25. I think I did. I don't think that one's gonna land for 113.
Oh, people are refreshing it in the background, so it's refreshing my screen. Where is it?
It's like a little below halfway down.
Yeah, here. Okay, so should we move this one to next?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. I think that's fair. All right, Jack.
I am going to tag the set of PRs that aren't WIP from lock-in into this, and I think that those should be priority
Yes.
for 113.
Yes, please. Thank you. Yeah, that's a great point. Because we missed 112 for those. It'd be really great to get them into 113. I'm not sure who was first, John, if that's your same hand from before, if that's a new hand, but Willie, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So I just added my AKS fleet PR. There wasn't an issue for it, I think, so I just added the PR. It is pretty much ready for review, or it is ready for review, and we have like 2 reviewers on it. But if anyone wants to like take a look, I think that one's pretty good to get in. Same with Marketplace. It's a little bit behind AKS Fleet, but it's all like, if anyone wants to take an early look, thanks Jonathan who already did. Just I'm only working on an E2E test now, so that's also like ready to review if you guys want to see it. Besides the test and documentation.
Awesome, thank you. Anyone else?
There was still
go ahead.
there was still an open item in milestone 112 that I just moved to 113 for cap H.
Okay. Is milestone 112 still, it's closed, right? Yeah, okay.
It's closed, but it still had an open item. I guess you can do that.
Okay, interesting. Thank you.
The auto refresh UX is brutal.
Yeah, every time I try to scroll, it just
That could be
yeah,
better.
this one is I'm working on that one. Yeah, the cloud provider install. That should still be in 113. Oh gosh, okay.
Stop it, Bizzle, stop it.
I did want to just quickly chat about this one here, the move issue, Nawaz, that you were looking at. So for this one, I think you have a repro, right? Yeah. Could we consider maybe like reverting the PR that broke this, since it's a regression in 112, before we find a more long-term fix, since this is blocking some users right now?
I'm not really sure if the PR which one of the user added was really a blocker, because looking into the cluster, while I performed a move, I did not see the delete for the new annotation which was added at CAPI being applied to the cluster. So I still need to probe further if it's because once I added it manually and tried to move, all of the cluster did move right. So the webhook is working as we thought. I'm not
Yeah,
sure if it is.
I think that's the problem exactly. Because the annotation is not there, it's not working. Why the annotation is not there, I don't know. That might be a CAPI issue. But before, we weren't relying on the annotation. We were just using the spec.paused, which was working. And the annotation, I think, it's making it more granular, right? Because the cluster could be paused for other reasons. So before, we were kind of doing a wide like exception, but now we're trying to be a little more precise, saying, only skip this validation if it's paused because it's being deleted for move. But it seems like this annotation is not present, and so it's not working, and so it's doing the validation when it shouldn't be doing the annotation.
But shouldn't we try to fix why the annotation is not getting added at all?
Absolutely. I just think like whatever gets us quickly unblocked first, and then we can do, because if we need to do a fix in CAPI, it might take several, PR or several weeks.
Fair enough.
So I think if we have clear signal that this PR regressed it, even if this PR is correct technically, but having this PR fix or having this PR broke the feature, then I think it makes sense to revert this PR, patch it so that at least users are unblocked, and then we can figure out how to make this PR work again.
Yeah.
I
can revert it.
Cool. Let me know if you want help or pairing on that. I'm happy to pair. Okay. Anyone have any questions on this or any other thoughts, opinions? All right. Cool. Thanks for adding all those PRs in there, Jack. Anything, anything else? Well, you guys are doing it on purpose, I swear. Every time I go back to this page. All right. Anything else that we should discuss in here? This one I don't.
The
Go ahead.
GovCloud one is something that I know that I think we can get in. But I
This
think
one.
that one's also important. I think Matt's assigned to it.
What's the story on that one?
Looks
Or
like there's
am I
workaround
assigned
was-
to it.
John's workaround was accepted, I think, so maybe.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, I think that there's still ASO changes that we would need to incorporate to really fix this. Well, there might be some not super clean hacks we can throw in CapZ. I think the issue right now is that for ASO only points to a single cloud for the whole ASO installation. And so CapZ could kind of on the fly change that. That would work as long as you're only deploying resources for one particular cloud from a management cluster. But that would be kind of going backwards compared to what CapZ could do before, which was like per cluster pointing to a cloud. Yeah, go ahead, Cecile.
It seems like right now we're doing the crawl version of this, which is asking the user to manually go change something in their settings to make it work, which before we think about doing like the run where we can do multi-cluster, multi-cloud, maybe we should, at least make this a bit more, like you pointed out here, like more automated, and have a way to set it when you're deploying CapZ with an environment variable or something like that. Even if it's just one single cloud for now, because I think we only know of a single user who said that they need multi-cloud, and even then there was a bit of pushback on whether they actually need to be doing this or not. But we definitely want to be not making it super manual to use government cloud in general. So I would say for 113, that should be the goal potentially. And then if we do get more users coming forward saying, I need more than one cloud per management cluster, then we can maybe think about doing something like what you're describing. David.
Yeah, I would just say this seems like very similar territory to Nawa's assigned task of the opening up the different CRDs for the install. I know it's not the same exact thing, but you're touching the how do I configure ASO during the install of CapZ kind of thing. So just thought I'd bring that up.
Yeah, Noah, does that sound right to you, or what do you think?
Sorry, I was trying to reboot the PR.
Oh. No worries. David was saying that basically this issue is, do you have context on this issue, or it's the ASO, like setting the setting the Azure cloud for ASO. Right now, we're not doing that through CapZ, so it's just going to public cloud always. And so we're talking about having a way to set which cloud the user, having the user be able to set which cloud they want to use when they're deploying CapZ or installing CapZ. Anyways, David was just pointing out that it might be relevant to your issue that you're working on for like controlling which ASO CRDs get installed because it's tweaking the settings of ASO. We can follow up offline.
I see. Okay. I can chat with you offline, David.
Okay. Yeah.
So Matt, you're assigned to this. Do you want to be assigned to this? Should we unassign you? Or it doesn't seem like you're working on it.
John started troubleshooting, so maybe if you're willing to take it over, it might be more appropriate, John.
Yeah, I can take it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. I will assign John and then unassign Matt and CC Nawaz. All good? All right. Awesome. All right. I think this one I wanted to chat about, the convert all CI jobs to use workload identity. Is this still something we want to do given the discussions we've been, I think so. For context for this, there's a few things happening, I guess. So first thing is Matt took over the deprecate pod identity thing, and we want to get that in for 113. Is that in here? Yeah, it's in here. So that one is going to be removing all usage of pod identity libraries in CabZ and doing that in a way that we don't change the APIs. So we're trying to not make any breaking changes. So anything that was using pod identity before is just going to use the Azure SDK libraries directly for authentication. Once we do that, it's not going to affect our tests. So if we do things right, our tests shouldn't have to be updated. They should just keep working. There's another PR which is going on, which I don't have the link right now, but it's in the, let me see if I can, yeah, right here. In the workload identity repo, we've been working with the maintainers over there to try to add a script for making it easier to set up kind clusters to use workload identity. And I think this will probably help us do that. Oh, sorry, clicked on the wrong thing. Sorry, so the script will help us do this like conversion of CI jobs. So I would argue we should push this back to next, because I don't think we're gonna have the script and the CI jobs done by 113, but that could be a stretch goal if we do get the script in and we want to use this to test the script.
Do you have
Does
that
make
linked?
sense?
Be
This
good to,
script.
yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
good to link that PR to the other
Yep,
issue.
I can do that. Okay. I don't know if I spelled next right. Yeah, I think so. Okay, great. Anything else? There's a lot in here. I think probably too much.
I did have one issue that is just more of a status update. I read through it. It's an older one, not super important. It's in the chat thread.
Is it this?
Yes. It was set as in progress, so I think it's more weight on author, but I want to guess that's all I want to know is what's the true status of this, and we probably should prod the person. Sounds like, at least if we're asking for something else from them.
Yeah, I mean, so basically I remember this one I think we talked about it last time, but essentially they made this change which when testing the change it breaks clusters. So the clusters kubelet doesn't come up. So we can't merge this. And I think they were able to reproduce it and say they need to dig in more. But that was in August. And probably if one of us had time, it'd be good to like, I did try to repro and couldn't figure out what was going on. But
Okay, so we need to probably just
I
can just ping the author and just it's wait on
Yeah.
author. Okay.
Is anyone asking for this change? Like or
No,
what's
just
the-
more cleanup.
okay,
Just trying to,
got it.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. This be good to circle back on this, but it's kind of one of those lower priority ones.
Yep. No, that's fine.
All right. Okay. Last call. Anything in here that we want to, oops, chat about? Okay. I would encourage maybe everyone to look at what's assigned to them in here, like filter by assignee, and see if there's anything in here that you're assigned to that you don't think you should be assigned to, or that you don't think should be in the milestone. And then take it from there. All right. Any last minute questions, topics, comments? Okay. Well, see you all on the internet and have a good rest of your Thursday and week. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Cecile.